Triple C leader Nelson Chamisa is in a battle for his political life after his party was allegedly hijacked by functionaries who have been linked to ZANU-PF and FARS. This is the weekly news roundup where we give you top stories which made the news over the past week across all our platforms. Mnangagwa declares by-elections, bringing Triple C on verge of collapse as vouchers circle. ZIMSEC bangles exam distribution. ZANU-PF fights to distance self from recalls. Nest aides fleeced. Parents urged to pay fees. Cabinet frets as cholera spreads in Buhera. Sex scandal rocks Zifa. In business news, Mangujga speaks on currency. Join me, Gaddafi Wells, after this break for these and other stories in greater detail.
And so we provide a platform to tell Zimbabwe's untold stories.
Future-proofing the next generation of Zimbabwe.
To building the economy through meaningful, objective dialogue.
We do this to foster empathy in an already fragmented environment.
Breaking the barriers in the digital world because the future is digital.
We pride ourselves in our thoroughness to research issues and topics which are current and will have an impact in the future. We are the Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services.
Welcome back to the News Roundup, and here's the news in greater detail. President Emmerson Mnangagwa has set November 7 as the date for by-elections following recalls which have hit the main opposition. Mnangagwa's Proclamation 8 of 2023 has reduced the court challenge before the High Court to an academic exercise. The move has left opposition leader Nelson Chamisa battling to keep his political life as vouchers who have claimed to be within his ranks are pushing to wrestle parliamentary and party control from the youthful leader. Chamisa now banks on the courts for his salvation. I give you the story in detail. It looks like it's game over for Nelson Chamisa, whose days as leader of the opposition could have come to an end. The blow was delivered by President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who this afternoon set November 7 as the date for by-elections. By-elections will now be held in Beitbridge West, Binga North, Bulawayo South, Cowdrey Park, Lobengula Magwegwe, Lupane East, Mabvuku Tafara, Mpopoma, Mzilikazi, and Nketa. This puts paid High Court challenges by the Triple C legislators. Lawyer and opposition politician Jacqueline Sande has trained her guns on the Speaker of the House of Assembly, accusing him of playing politics with the people's vote.
I think it is also unfortunate for the Speaker of Parliament to just accept any correspondence coming from whoever it is without verifying the authenticity of that document. And I doubt very much that the Speaker of Parliament would react in the same manner if a similar letter were to be written about ZANU-PF MPs. So there should be a level of engagement and scrutiny before one just purports to accept communication and set aside the vote of the people through a mere letter. This is regrettable and unfortunate.
Sande, who also speaks on behalf of exiled Xavier Kasukuwere, although not convinced the recalls in the Triple C were internal, said the recalls were in no way an attempt to respect democracy.
I think I will speak more from the political side rather than the legal side. The issue of the recalls is an unfortunate one and it should not be allowed to proceed. I think a dangerous precedent was set when there was the split between MDC, which then culminated in MDC and Triple C. And I think the law in itself is the one which is bad and which is mischievous and which needs to be cured. We cannot have a few individuals who then purport to be office holders of party, recalling members of parliament who have barely been voted into office by Zimbabweans in a national election which took place less than 2 months ago, that this is unfortunate and regrettable. We know that there may be dynamics, power dynamics going on within the CCC movement, but we believe, and I believe, that the voice of the people is elaborated on the 23rd of August through the vote, through the plebiscite, as mad as it was, should be respected, and whatever internal disputes that are there should be dealt with internally and with the view of respecting the vote of the people.
Battling for its survival, the main opposition, CCC, alleges it is facing serious attacks from ZANU-PF's shadowy group, Forever Associates Zimbabwe, FAZ, who are out to pulverize the opposition and control a 2/3 majority, which could see the ruling party tinker with the constitution. CCC spokesperson Promise Mukwananzi said the attacks are not limited to recalls only, but have stretched to physical beatings, use of state institutions to bring trumped-up charges, and use of instruments of violence to induce fear and silence the opposition.
Well, it's clear that the regime in Zimbabwe knows that they did not win the elections that were recently conducted. They stole the elections, they violated the laws of our country that relate to elections, and announced a fake result. And they know that the people of Zimbabwe are very angry and very agitated. And this is an attempt to preempt the anger of the people of Zimbabwe, to decimate any possible mass protests or peaceful protests by the people of Zimbabwe against a stolen election. And of course, this is compounded by the unlawful, illegal, and ill-advised recall of our members of parliament who have been recalled by a random person that ZANU-PF picked from the street as a willing tool to destabilize the alternative party in Zimbabwe, the CCC, and of course to reverse the wishes and the will of the people of Zimbabwe, to undermine democracy basically, and to disrespect, total disrespect and total decimation of the supreme law of our land, which is the Constitution.
ZANU-PF has attempted to distance itself from the recalls, which have been called illegal and unjust, saying that it's only benefiting from the chaos in the opposition.
We didn't cause the recall, so it's not our agenda. Well, it might come, and obviously when it comes we welcome it, but it's not our agenda to have those recalls. We are extremely happy with having a majority in parliament as we are, and it's not our agenda to recall. It's really an internal affair, and if it happens and it happens to our favor, thank you so much.
Hitting back, CCC Deputy Spokesperson Gift Ostalos Siziba said the recalls were part of a grand scheme to destabilize the opposition, remove focus on government and its inability to perform, while creating a 2/3 majority denied on election day.
The reasons is very simple. Number one, there is a deliberate attempt in this country to force a 2/3 majority by ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF wants to get a 2/3 majority by hook or crook. That's why you have seen them systematically deploying its proxy and an imposter to go and try and destabilize our members of parliament.
Those who were recalled have since approached the High Court, where they are challenging the recalls. It appears that the ruling which will come from the courts will determine Chamisa's political future. Reporting for HSTV and Current Affairs, Gaddafi Wells. From night voting to writing examinations in the middle of the night, it was students' turn to embrace writing examinations during ungodly hours after the Zimbabwe Schools Examinations Council failed to deliver examination material on time in some schools. Pupils had to share candles with witches as they literally burnt midnight oil following the boob. Tinashe Matambo spoke to teachers and gives us the full story.
Teachers are unhappy with the conduct of ZIMSEC, whose alleged incompetence forced the ordinary level students writing midnight examinations. biggest teachers union body, ZIMTA, raised concern on the management of the crucial academic examinations on the country's calendar. ZIMTA Acting Secretary General Goodwill Tadera condemned the delays, saying they cause anxiety.
Yes, my name is Goodwill Tadera, the Zimbabwe Teachers Association Acting National Secretary General. My comment on the delays in materials distribution by ZIMSEC, I think it's all about trying to be prudent in everything that they are trying to do, and in the process they also cause unnecessary delays in trying to make sure that they guard against leakages of examination materials and question papers. But however, in a bid to do that, exactly the opposite is happening, and that brings in a lot of anxiety on the learners, unnecessary waiting on the part of learners and the teachers themselves. I know schools that have started, of course, very late. There is nothing amiss, there is nothing unusual, but it is not normal for schools to start late by more than 4, 5, 6 hours. It is a rule within ZIMSEC to say when exams delay, learners can be quarantined until there is that sufficient enough time to put things in order. But in this particular case, it was rather too much, and we hope that ZIMSEC will improve as we move forward, trying to make sure that the management of these examinations do not raise unnecessary concern, unnecessary alarm, or reduce the credibility, reduce the fairness and the integrity of these examinations.
Tadera seems to suggest that the failure or unwillingness by ZIMSEC to pay service providers was at the center of the problems in the running of examinations in Zimbabwe.
I think ZIMSEC must do to improve the situation is simply that they must be prepared well in advance. We have had numerous hiccups when it comes to examinations, particularly the leakages. And because they want to guard against the leakages, they must put in place strategies that then must ensure that the integrity, the credibility, and fairness of examinations are put in place well ahead of time. Maybe they should prepare examinations that must be written in a particular year, a year or two before, but guarding against leakages as well. We also think that they must reduce the number of people that get involved in the processing of examinations, and that way they reduce the scope of investigations should there be a likely event of exam leakages. And in order to stabilize the learners who have panicked, who have a lot of anxiety, which was caused by these unnecessary delays, ZIMSEC must just contract other stakeholders of repute, of credibility, to make sure that the distribution of examination materials is professionally handled. Also, ZIMSEC must make sure that they pay all the key stakeholders who partake in examinations management, because the leakages are generally caused by lack of the necessary payments that must be given to, starting from the teachers themselves and those who man the examinations, who process the examinations, until we get to the learners themselves.
ATU's leader Obet Masarure asked ZIMSEC to distribute exams ahead of time instead of waiting for the last minute. Coming from a union which represents rural teachers, Masarure said that the failures by ZIMSEC had more effect on pupils in rural areas.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate that the Zimbabwe Schools Examination Council failed to take heed for recommendations in 2022. When there was a crisis of exam leakages, we commissioned a paper which really tried to explore on the leakages, points of leakages, where our exams leaking. It was very clear that the papers are leaking from the production center, which is at ZIMSEC, the head office itself. But we were shocked to learn from ZIMSEC and even from Parliament that they were accusing our schools for leaking examinations, which was very unfair, because these papers were leaking in soft copy, and our schools don't receive soft copy. If the marking schemes were leaking, our schools don't receive marking scheme. So the intervention to then say papers are going to be delivered on the day is a wrong prescription, which is born out of a wrong diagnosis, was what they came out with was completely wrong. So now they're saying schools are not safe for examination papers.
Some of the affected exam centers had to write exams at night using torches, with others using candle lights due to ZIMSEC's failure.
They delay to deliver the papers. We have learners who are writing during the night using torches. We have learners who are spending the whole day waiting for the paper. Among other things, there is a lot of chaos. This could have been avoided. We maintain that ZIMSEC, one, does not have the capacity to deliver these examination materials on a daily basis to schools. It's impossible. What we have to do is to strengthen security at the schools, deliver these papers ahead of time, and ensure that they are well protected. Then obviously, secondly, let's look at how do we plug the holes at national level where the papers are leaking. With all these changes, these papers are still being sold on the black market, and the ZIMSEC has admitted that these papers that are being written this year were being sold on the black market. So this has not solved anything, but it's only created problems for the learners. And it is affecting those in marginalized communities more. Why? Because some of them walk for very long distances, and they have to do that during the night. Some of them do not have electricity. And when you are writing the exams during the night, you are now using your candle light.
ZIMSEC has come under fire every year over its bungling of examinations, which range from delivering the wrong material, mixing up questions, to leaking of examinations. Many parents are beginning to lose confidence in local examinations, forcing them to turn to schools which get their pupils to sit for Cambridge examinations. Reporting for HSTV's Tinashe Matambo, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Ruling party ZANU-PF and government are battling to remove a tag of interfering in the political fortunes of opposition Triple C. In the past week, government summoned ambassadors from Africa in an effort to clear themselves from allegations that they are behind the recalls hitting the party. ZANU-PF also made similar efforts through its own press conference.
Government takes note of statements from the political outfit whose members were recalled from parliament. The unfounded aspersions and outright falsehoods seeking to embroil government and the ruling ZANU-PF party in the recall process are without merit.
We didn't cause the recall, so it's not our agenda. Well, it might come, and obviously when it comes we welcome it, but it's not our agenda to have those recalls. We are extremely happy with having a majority in parliament as we are. And it's not our agenda to recall. It's really an internal affair. And if it happens and it happens to our favor, okay, thank you so much.
Zimbabweans desperate to flee their own country for the United Kingdom have been fleeced of hard-earned investments as they risk all to evade the biting poverty which has knocked the doors of many low-income earning Zimbabweans. 53 nurse aides lost a total of 46,000 United States dollars to McDonald Takunda Pfende, who had promised to facilitate certificates of sponsorship for them. Many Zimbabweans, including lawyers, accountants, teachers, and other professionals, are leaving the country in their numbers to foreign land for greener pastures owing to a failing economy back home. Government's promise that it will be providing free education appears to have collapsed, with most of its officials telling parents to pay fees. Speaking at a Chinhoyi High prize-giving ceremony this week, Mashonaland West Provincial Minister of Devolution Marian Chombo called on parents to pay fees and keep schools going. Kelly Mabaire gives us more.
Government, which has in the past promised free education for all, appears to be backtracking on its promise and is instead asking parents to pay fees without fail. Mashonaland West Minister of Devolution Marian Chombo, in a speech read on her behalf during a prize-giving day at Chinhoyi High, called on parents to meet their fees obligations.
The level of respect they have for teachers has everything to do with what we say at our homes. As parents, let us be supportive and work hard to fund the education of our children.
The failure by government to provide free education has angered teachers. President of ATUS, Obed Masaraure, said government was failing to live up to its promises, regardless of the fact that in 2020, Mnangagwa signed into law the Education Amendment Act, which compels the state to provide free basic education in line with the provisions of Section 27 of the Constitution.
The issue of the provision of free education is no longer about its capabilities, its willingness or anything. It is now, government is now bound by the law to provide free education. Why? Because if you read correctly in Section 75, it is the duty of the state to fund basic education. And now when you further go to the Education Act as amended in 2020, and then it's so clear when they define basic education, what it is education that begins from early child development to ordinary level. So from ECD to Form 4, government is now mandated to fund basic education.
The fact that the government has never allocated a budget for education that exceeds 14% under Mnangagwa's reign proves that the government does not give special attention to education, says Masaraure.
But the issue then begins with the budgetary allocation. Under this Second Republic, you would see that under Emmerson Mnangagwa, the government has never allocated a budgetary allocation towards education which exceeds 14%. What this means is that they don't prioritize education.
Schools continue to rely on parents to fund the needs to run smoothly while government pays teachers' salaries only. Reporting for HSTV News, Kelly Mabai.
Government is fretting over a 3-week cholera outbreak which it is failing to contain. Addressing journalists soon after cabinet briefing, Information Minister Jennifer Muswere told the press government was acting to save lives. A ZIFA head coach has been dragged to court over allegations of demanding sex from players and officials in camp. Munotidaishe Kono gives us more.
A sex scandal has rocked the Zimbabwe International Football Association ZIFA after one of its coaches was dragged before the courts to answer charges of sexual assault. Women national team head coach Shadrack Mlauzi appeared before Magistrate Yokai Zuda facing 2 counts of sexual assault, in a case that could open a can of worms on matters that have for long been spoken under hushed tones in the women's national team. The state alleges Mulauzi sexually assaulted and demanded intimacy from a staff member who was part of the technical team in a camp ahead of the COSAFA soccer women tournament at a hotel in Harare. On the second count, it is alleged that in South Africa, the 43-year-old coach also harassed the complainant, and this prompted her to register a complaint with the COSAFA safeguarding officer. Speaking through his lawyer, Kosa Mncube, Mlauzi, who is now out on $300 bail, denied the charges.
What transpired is that the court has since granted him bail in the sum of US $300, which is to deposit with the clerk of court. And in addition, he has been ordered not to interfere with state witnesses and to continue residing at his given address, in addition to surrendering his passport. Further to that, he is also to report fortnightly at Zetherapy Ngulumane.
At the past weeks, sexual harassment has been at the center of discussion, especially after voice notes and chats leaked from state broadcaster ZBC amid allegations that there was high demand for sex in return for favors. Reporting for HSTV News and Current Affairs, Munotidaishe Kono, Rotenro.
We turn to business news. Government appears to be without a solution to the currency crisis that has hounded the country since hyperinflation under the late ousted President Robert Mugabe. The introduction of multi-currencies, the bond note, gold-backed digital currency and gold tokens have failed to stimulate the local currency to life. Reserve Bank Governor John Mangujika, while addressing bankers during the Zimbabwe Independent Prestigious Banks and Banking Survey, spoke on the currency problem.
To stay the course of our tight monetary policy stance to ensure that the gains that we have already achieved of stability, they remain. We're going to continue with our wholesale auction system to ensure that those companies that get money from the banking sector continue to get it. We are going to continue working with the government on the fiscal consolidation to ensure that at least there is not too much money in the market chasing due to foreign currency. This economy depends on foreign currency. But more importantly so, this economy is a perception-driven economy. It's a sentiment-driven economy. So we need to increase a currency called confidence, whether it is the general economy or the banking sector. And I can speak confidently from the banking sector. That whilst what we've done is good, let's continue to enhance confidence to our customers so that at the end of the day, that confidence can permeate and trickle down to the rest of the economy. We can do it ourselves as an economy, and as the banks have done it very well. Some of us were so proud that during these difficult times, we never saw a bank that brought their license to us. That's again sign that we are healthy banks and that we remain healthy. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the lowest, where we get at the banking sector in Zimbabwe is between 7.5 and 8.5. So you have done it very well. So I don't know what this award are going to show, but I know that. Why can't you also come with a pay as you earn or pay as you go, low cost accounts, like cell phones? You know, a cell phone is very addictive. The cell phone is very addictive, like a US dollar, very addictive. Once I give people some money, they go to the street to go and buy currency. That's why we give them gold coins, and so that they can store their value and have a medium of exchange.
We turn to sports news, where Matambo gives us a rundown on this week's sports.
Welcome to the sports with me, Tinashe Matambo. I will give you the preview and the review. Let's look at the world of sports, and we take off with the results of the Cholera Premier Soccer League matches which were played on Wednesday and Thursday. In matches played on Wednesday, Dynamos revived their title hopes as they won 2-1 against the log leaders Ngezi Platinum. Dynamos got their goals from Elton Chikono and Keith Madeira, with the Takunda Binura pulling one back for Madamburo. In another encounter played at Mandava Stadium, second place the FC Platinum lost 2-1 to Armyside Black Rhinos. Chicken Inn were on fire as they comfortably swept up past the Electricity Boys of ZPC Kariba by 4-0. In other encounters played on Wednesday, Greenfield 1, Islanders 1, Shishem 1, Triangle United 1, Simba Bora 2, Capes United 3, Wanye FC 1, Erinchaus 0, Crembon Bullets 0, Bulawayo Chiefs 1, Yada FC 1, Manika Diamonds 1. Let's now look at the log standings. Ngezi Platinum remain at the top of the league despite their loss. They are on 54 points, 7 ahead of second place, the Highlanders. Dynamos and Highlanders are on Ngezi Platinum remain on the apex of the league table despite their loss. They are on 54 points, 7 points ahead of FC Platinum, who are in second position. Dynamos and Highlanders are on third and fourth position respectively, with a goal difference separating the two sides. Crembo Bullets are on the bottom of the league table with 22 points, 9 points away from safety zone. Yada FC, Triangle United and the Black Rhinos make up the relegation zone. They are seated on 15th, 16th and 17th position respectively. Let's now look at the Saturday fixtures for this weekend. FC Platinum will host the Greenfield. Simba Bora will travel to face the Triangle United at the Gable Stadium. Chicken Inn, fresh from their big win, will clash with the Black Rhinos. Erinchaus look to recover from their midweek loser inflicted by Wangi as they welcome New Boys Shesham. On Sunday, Dynamos make their trip to ZPC Kariba, where they will face the Electricity Boys at Nyamoga Stadium. Ngezi Platinum will at Baobab Stadium host Yada FC, with Harare Giants Capes United up against the Crembon Bullets. Coal Miners Wange FC will rub shoulders away with Manika Diamonds. Bulawayo football lovers will be up for a huge treat in Bulawayo Derby, which will see Bulawayo Chiefs hosting Brito's men of Highlanders. Let's cross over to international football. Club competition across most countries will return this weekend after the October international break, with most teams aiming for positive results. In some of the big matches across the top 5 leagues of Europe, Liverpool host Everton in afternoon at Anfield as the Merseyside derby returns again. Reigning champions Manchester City will play Brighton and Hove Albion at home, with Manchester United making their trip to Sheffield United. Biggest match of the week will see Chelsea locking horns with Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, who are in high spirits after beating Manchester City in their last encounter. In La Liga, Sevilla will entertain Giants Real Madrid at their home base. Celta Vigo face Atletico Madrid. Barcelona will on Sunday host Athletic Bilbao. Serie A fixtures have pulled in with a deadly clash between league leaders AC Milan and the third-placed Juventus. Torino will host Inter Milan, while Napoli will make their trip to face Verona. That was for the sports. That was for the sports with me, Tinashe Matambo. Join me next week for the next updates.
Thank you for joining us on the weekly roundup. Join me, Gaddafi Wells, and the crew behind the HSTV News and Current Affairs desk next week for another informative roundup. The bulletin was brought to you by HSTV News and Current Affairs, Newsday, Standard, and the Zimbabwe Independent. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, take care and enjoy the rest of your week.